Hello everybody, and welcome to another video. My name is Jack, and today I'm going to be sharing my review of this summer's latest blockbuster movie, Twisters. If you're new to the channel, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications, and join me down below in the comment section to share your thoughts on Twister if you have seen it, and your expectations if you have not. So this weekend, Twisters, the spinoff to the 1996 movie Twister, drops in theaters. I've seen the original film previously in my life and thought it was solid, but the trailers for this new one didn't exactly sold me so much. But then when I saw the glowing reviews from everyone who had seen it, I decided I needed to check it out for myself. So I went and saw it opening night with my mom and my brother, and here's what I thought about it, starting with the pros. Now, Twisters was very much a fun trip to the movies, and it delivers all the goofy, absurd, stupid carnage you want from a big, dumb disaster movie. You've got all this crazy blockbuster absurdity of people driving trucks into tornadoes for the simple fact that it looks cool, and it does. It is awesome to see on the big screen. They shoot fireworks up in the air, and it is the coolest thing ever. And while it is completely stupid and irrational and completely unrealistic, you just gotta kick your feet up and have a great time because it is a lot of fun. And much like the original, this is a classic summer blockbuster, very much in the same vein of Top Gun Maverick, in the sense it's a flashback to a time before blockbusters relied on superheroes and CGI to sell movie tickets. It just has these grounded, riveting action sequences that are really fun to see as an audience member. There's some great direction from Lee Isaac Chung. I saw this in RPX on the biggest screen in my local theater. The seats were shaking, so it really made you feel like you were right there in the tornado, which was super immersive and super cool. And every time one of these sequences happened, it kept me on the edge of my seat as to whether or not these characters were going to make it out alive. On that note, I think the lead performances here were really great. Daisy Edgar-Jones played a fun protagonist that you were just excited to go on this adventure with. Anthony Ramos, who played Philip in Hamilton, was in this, and that was cool to see. But my favorite performance in this whole movie definitely came from Glenn Powell. He plays this guy who's a YouTuber that calls himself the Tornado Wrangler, and he shoots these crazy videos of him driving into the tornadoes and taking them down and stuff, and it's totally awesome. He's just a really charismatic superstar that puts a lot of energy into all his performances, and watching him in Twisters reminded me that I need to check out some of his other movies, such as Hitman and Anyone But You. Right off the bat, this is a movie that hooks you, and it doesn't waste any time before stuff gets really crazy, and you really gotta respect it for how immersive of a filmmaking experience it truly is. And as many things as there were that I loved about this movie, there were a few things I had some issues with, so let's get into the mixed elements. And very much the main thing that holds Twisters back from being one of my favorite movies of the year is the fact that it has one of the most god-awful soundtracks I've ever heard, and that's for the simple reason that it is all modern country. If you like country, I won't hold that against you. That's your opinion. That's awesome. That's fine. But for me personally, I just find country to be really basic, boring, uninspired, and just all around annoying. So that's naturally gonna make me feel less partial to a movie like Twisters. Twisters has a whole original country soundtrack, and there's moments where it benefits the film, like when it functions as characterization for Glenn Powell's character. Of course, this guy calls himself the Tornado Wrangler, and he lives in Oklahoma. What else is he gonna listen to? And it also helps build the setting out a little more. But when they try to use country music to sell emotional beats, it just falls laughably flat for me. Like, there's this one part where the song about how you can't spell Oklahoma without home starts playing, and it's a moment in the movie where you're supposed to feel sad, but I'm just sitting there uncomfortably laughing my ass off because of how stupid the song is. And I feel like country is kind of the worst genre of music to do an original movie soundtrack with, because it's such an acquired taste that someone's enjoyment of the movie hinges on whether or not they can tolerate Luke Combs. Twister shoves its soundtrack so far down your throat every chance it gets, and if you like that kind of music, then you should enjoy this movie way more than I did. But if you feel the same way about country that I do, then you're inevitably gonna find parts of this film that'll be cringe-inducing. And while Twisters was fun to watch on the big screen, I don't know if it will have any rewatchability value over the original. Because while this does sort of take the premise and world of the original, recaptures the magic without sort of replicating it, and tells a different enough story so it's an exciting experience, I don't think there's anything that this new film does particularly well that the first film doesn't. So let's say a year from now I'm in the mood to watch a tornado movie, I'm just gonna go to the original Twister. No reason I would go to this remake. Now for my closing thoughts, despite my issues with Twisters, I definitely had a lot of fun with it. I found it immersive, I found it suspenseful, and if we're going purely off of theater experience, this was one of my favorite cinematic adventures of the year. It really made me appreciate Glenn Powell as a movie star and leading man and reminded me that I needed to check out Hitman. It's just certain things like the Twisters soundtrack really tanked it for me. Plus, I'm not sure I'll have any desire to rewatch this once it hits home video, especially when I own the Blu-ray of the original. But if you're remotely interested in checking out Twisters, I recommend going to see it on the biggest screen possible. It'll fully immerse you. It'll keep you on the edge of your seat. It'll make you feel like you're inside of a tornado. And as someone who was born 12 years after the original came out, I never got to see it in theaters, so I'm certainly glad I was able to experience at least a little bit of that Twister magic. All in all, it's a 7 out of 10, but if I didn't dock points for the soundtrack, it would be an 8 out of 10. So I especially recommend it if you're a fan of country music, because you're probably going to enjoy this movie way more than I did. Have you seen Twisters? If so, what did you think about it? And if you haven't seen it, what are your expectations? Let me know in the comments down below. I would love to hear absolutely everything that you'd have to say about this subject. Anyways, thanks so much for tuning in. If you can feel it, chase it. Until next time, YouTube, I will see you on the flip side.